What's up, guys? Welcome back. KingBarra again. Been a little bit of a break. It was meant to be more of a break, but due to our issues with this thing not ending up being at Fab for as long as we intended, and being back here and taking up this hoist, we've had to push all of our other jobs that we had planned for this time while it was meant to be at Fab all around, because we've now had to work all of them around this hoist. And this car we're waiting for heads for, and it is what it is. So due to some stalemates with other stuff and not being able to continue on with a few other things, we're back into the KingBarra earlier than we had anticipated to try and work this alongside the rest of the stuff we've got to do for the next 2 weeks before it goes to wiring, which is all fun and games. So you can see what Ryan did on the intake charge pipe before we got it back. You can see he's done our bottom radiator pipe, which is freaking awesome. There are a few things that we'll get him to add to it when it goes back. We figured that this would be a really good pipe to just chuck in the water return from the turbo. We could just tee it into the back there and it can come straight out of the turbo and into the back, and then the feed can be hardlined back around to this one here. Which comes out of the thermostat there, which would be a perfect circuit for the water for the turbo. So we'll get him to add that in. As you can see, he's written here the AN4 male that we're going to use for the boost control that will be in this charge pipe. He's going to weld that in when he gets it back. And as I said at the end of the last episode, he didn't do the intake pipe work because we don't have our alternator where it's going to be in its final position, and we don't know if we're going to have to work that around it at all. So that ended up being pretty much all that Ryan could do with what he had and what we had for the car at the time. As you can see, still no intake manifold on the car. We are still waiting for that. I've been assured that it's been sent from Zoo Performance today, so hopefully we see that next week. Fingers crossed. Anyway, that's the Kiwi back here. So moving on, we do now have the intercooler that we bought, the 75mm core, which is here. So that should hopefully just swap straight into this thing. Now, one thing that we did goofed when we mounted the intercooler, which we didn't really think about at the time, but after looking at it when it got back here, it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway, is the bonnet latch. So the bonnet latch now, as you can see, H-series holding quite deep, and where the cooler's mounted, not so deep from there. So the bonnet catch actually contacts where the cooler is, so we're gonna have to find a new solution for that. A lot of you guys would know, newer Euro cars have a bit of a different setup where they have like 2 pins, like a smaller one in each corner, and we're thinking about trying to adapt or retrofit something like that to this car. You know, shorten the catch up and actually the latch, move them out to 2 smaller ones like a Euro car, which should work fine. So that's just another issue we're going to have to find a solution for, which is not too bad. We've also now received our adjustable upper trailing arms from McDonald Brothers, which means we've now got everything here to actually get this diff back together and get it in the car. So that will be hopefully coming up soon. We've now got a stall converter. It's a red diamond 2800 RPM stall converter to suit a Barra 2 Turbo 400, custom built. So stoked to finally have our converter here. Got our Astra power steering pump here, which we were looking at where we can mount that. We think we found a pretty good spot down in here to actually mount that, which is down, I don't know, it's pretty hard to see without a torch. I'll have to show the torch. But in behind this inner guard, down that side of the firewall towards the actual outer guard skin, there's a huge big cavity down there, which would be perfect for a power steering pump. So it should fit the power steering pump in there fine. So that's where we're looking at trying to mount that, which shouldn't be a problem. As far as our fuel system goes, a lot of you know, we talked about putting a little surge tank in the back here. So the idea was to put a little surge tank here. We ordered one from Aeroflow, which is a surge tank that actually houses a pump inside it. And that's what we really wanted to do with this thing. It was important to us just because it shuts the fuel pumps up so much. Rather than have an external fuel pump in a surge and having this annoying fuel pump whine, it's a crappy sound. We really like the idea of putting the fuel pumps in the surge tanks because it just shuts them up so much and it just makes them so much nicer. So this is the same surge that we put on the supercharged VY 1-tonner that we built, and we knew that it would be very marginal on the dimensions to fit in that cavity we have there in the boot as far as depth goes. And we were really hoping that it came with an orb fitting for the pump outlet, because Aeroflow also make a really low profile banjo fitting for orb fittings, which would have worked perfect. If that had worked, this would have literally fit in that cavity. We'd have like a orb banjo fitting off the top of the pump outlet, and Bob's the irony, it would have worked fine. Unfortunately, these don't come with an orb fitting. That's actually like a barb, or not a barb, I should say it's a AN flare, like a male AN flare, which is actually one piece with a captive nut. Oh, get that out. A captive nut that sits in that, which is one piece to an AN flare on the top. So there is no AN 90 degree fitting that's low enough profile to make this fit in the boot space there, and due to the fuel tank still being underneath the boot space, there's not really much that we can drop this down. So, yet another issue that we have to find a solution for. Not to worry too much, we have an idea of what we think should work, which would be basically to modify this to adapt it to be an orb fitting so that we can go back to our original plan. It's just going to be a bit of messing around with some fittings and some welding and making it work. But we should be able to make that work still. Just another thing that's going to be time and fittings and stuff we didn't count on, but it is what it is. That's the fun of the cars. But we really want to make that work for all those reasons that I just stated. Anyways, just look at the alley work from Ryan. If you thought the stainless work was good, the alley work just blows you away. So obviously our original plan was to powder coat this black and all of the intake piping powder coated all black. But after looking at the work, it almost seems a sin to powder coat it and cover it up. But we don't know yet. We'll just wait until we get closer to the completion of the car. Like you see here, he's just tacked these onto this 100mm core so that we can just cut them off when the 75 goes in. That shouldn't be an issue. Alright, we're just going to pause real quick for a minute because I'm sick of looking at my Karen hair.
Oh man, these clippers. This is not working well.
So how's your day been, mate?
Oh yeah, nah, not too bad, mate. I had plenty of walk-ins, eh? Looks awesome. Ah, excellent.
How's you look, boys? Looking good?
I reckon it looks good like that.
Alright, we'll leave it there. Oh no, it's all pretty bad.
Can't blame the hair for that.
I blame the head. Oh, yeah, they're not sharp at all.
No. Sideways. That's cool. Yeah. It doesn't stick forward anymore, it's all good.
All good, sorted. I need a lot more than a razor to fix this up.
Take the hair tie out, or I'm just going to cut around it. He's going to rain now too, isn't he?
Righto guys, that's enough updates and haircuts. So me and Rex have started this morning by stripping the interior that we think we need to strip to get access to the top of the spring hangers, which was actually quite simple. Pretty stoked with how easy that actually was to get out. We were worried that it was going to be all glued down and annoying, but that piece just all comes out once you unscrew the strips. So that was great. Now that we've done that, the only thing that's annoying that I just totally missed is the fact that we need bushes for the uppers on the diff. So as you saw, we've got our McDonald brothers there, one's there, but they don't come with the other bush, which is obviously meant to be on the diff. So I bought another pair of bushes for that, but probably won't see them until tomorrow, which is a bit of a pain. See how we go getting this freaking coilovers together. While it's up in the air in here as well, I'll give you a bit of a closer look at what Ryan's done with this exhaust, because it's just bloody beautiful. You can see that down there, that's the dump and the plumb back in. Then we've got our flexi and our first, well, our only V-band in it really. And then this is underneath the car, we've got our cat. Look at his welding. Just bloody beautiful. Got one hanger there, which he actually welded onto our gearbox cross member. So that's the first hanger there. Just look at that. So nice. And then back to our muffler, which is dumped. And that's the exhaust. It's pretty skits. Rex has dummied up one side, the coilover, so that he can make sure it was the right way round, and then make a net with cardboard to mark and drill holes. So here we are, drilling into the old HQ to put in coilovers.
Yeah, I hope they're right.
Sure they are.
I really do.
I'm sure they're right. We've also got another package which just arrived, which is freaking wicked. So here is our FG cover and coils, all the hardware and everything from barratheworld.com. As you can see, they've actually sourced an FG cover from a wreckers for us. Everything they send to us, they always make sure it's packaged in such a way that it won't get damaged. Quite impressed and stoked to have an FG cover to put on this thing. It's going to look so much nicer than the B series one. So got a few other goodies from them as well. Got our new Turbo 400 gearbox mount. So that's an actual tough mount gearbox mount that we bought from barratheworld.com. So between this and our engine mounts, this thing should be solid as, but obviously still take a little bit of vibration. Shouldn't be, shouldn't vibrate your teeth out, but it'll be solid. It shouldn't move. It'll be awesome. Also grabbed just a few things that I wanted from Raceworks from barratheworld.com. They also do a lot of Raceworks stuff, so those are adapters for the Barra, and this is our sensor block which I want to run on this thing to simplify a few things and make things nice and easy, so I'll go through that when we put that in the car. But awesome that that's here.
You're better off drilling these from the top. This suck.
Righto, these are going together. Our holes are drilled. Looking all gorgeous. And that's pretty much how they go back in. I'm hoping that the back nut there isn't high enough that our false floor bit just goes back in. We don't have to modify anything, but we'll have to wait and see. So trying to get these coilovers together. I mentioned in a previous episode that we were having some trouble with them. Not super impressed with the kit, to be honest. You know, I always give any company the benefit of the doubt and always try and get in contact with them before I publicly say that we have trouble with their products or anything like that. But tried to get onto United Speed Shop and they pretty much just ignored us, really. I don't know if it's just because we didn't buy the product, so we've never actually paid them any money. They don't want to put any time into helping us out. I guess that makes sense. They might just be super busy. But I messaged them. The issue we had was the blister pack that they provided with the hardware for the shock mounts for the top and bottom came with 2 of these bolts, which is fine. They're for the bottom shock mounts. They're a bit shorter than the other 2. And my assumption is it was meant to come with 2 longer bolts for the top shock mount, which it came with 2 longer bolts, but of the 2 longer bolts, both of them were different. Both had a different length shank, and both overall were just slightly different lengths. And that didn't make any sense to me, because it was pretty obvious in the blister pack that the idea of that blister pack of 4 bolts was to be used as the shock mounts top and bottom. I asked them for some information or what the deal was, and they just never replied to me. Adam, the owner, actually emailed them and they got back to him and they reckoned they were going to send some more out, but I'm not sure if they ever did or what the go is, because we still haven't seen them. And even then, like all of the bits that are supplied, these billet alloy pieces, you know, they're all obviously CNC'd out of a billet alloy piece, and then they must zinc coat them, and the tolerances that they've used for the bolt holes, by the time they're zinc coated, are way too tight. And it's all galling up trying to get the hardware through it. So we've actually had to drill out all of these pieces to be able to get the hardware in and out of them. Stuff like that, which is just adds lots of time to trying to get the pieces together, I suppose, and get them all put together. It is what it is. So considering we've got to pretty much drill the top shock mount out anyway, like the 2 bolts that came in the blister pack will work. It's just it doesn't make any sense as to why they're 2 different bolts. So, you know, the shanks are totally different on them, so. Anyway, we've got to drill it out anyway, so we'll just drill it big enough to fit the bolt and put it in, and that's how we'll put it together, because that's what they've supplied and that's what we've got. So that's how it's going together. So this is the weird one that they've supplied, and it just doesn't really work. Like, it just will not go through the piece. So yeah, we had to drill these out because it's such a long piece as well for the bolt to go through. Like, once it starts to gallop up, it gets real bad. So just had to open them up a bit. Righto, so the upper shock mounts for the coilovers are bolted in, ready to rumble. And the threads that are sticking up, I think, are going to be too high for our little false floor thing that goes in here. So we will have to probably sort something out with that, but that's all right. I'll talk to the owner about it, whether we try and do something with that or we leave that up to the trimmer when it goes back to Adam. We'll figure it out then. But at the very least, we are ready to rumble. So finally got all the silicon off the center, so we can probably put the center back in the diff now, and let that silicon go off for a while, and then start getting it together. At the moment, again, we're pretty much limited by the fact we don't have these bushes. So we've got the center back in the housing. We've just sort of done it up finger tight for now. We're going to let the silicon go off and tighten it up tomorrow. Rex at the moment is just going on with trying to get this interior back together essentially without having to do too much modification. So the back bolts for the top shock mounts, Rex has taken them out. We're going to shorten them down because they stick up about this far out of the nut as these ones. And up here where the floor is just a little bit higher, it was going to be just too high for our board that goes in here. So what we're trying to achieve is being able to drill these 3 holes in the plywood, which is the false floor for the interior. Just countersink them into that ply. As you can see, it's fairly thick. It's a good probably 12 mil thick, that ply. So we should be able to mark it, drill 3 holes that just countersink the bolts and allow it just to sit down where it was. Where the back bolts there, if we were going to drill them, we'd have to drill all the way through to where the carpet is, which is what we don't want to do. So we're trying to avoid having to modify the carpet at all. just because we don't want it to. We don't want to because of how it will look, but also I'm really worried about trying to drill through the back of the plywood to where the carpet is. I'm worried about the drill bit grabbing the carpet and causing damage. So yee-haw! Panels back in, but you can see there where Rex marked and just countersunk the holes so that they go down over the top of the coilover mounts, and Bob's your Arnie, it can go straight back in. So happy days, his interior can go back together. We'll leave it until after we've done the fuel system in case we need to get at a few things there, but it is nice to know that it will be able to go back together and not have to go anywhere else. So there you go guys, that's the difference between the FG and the B series cover. You can see this area seems to be quite a bit lower on the FG cover. Like I was saying, because of where it's hitting, which is pretty much VCT area, obviously the VCT solenoids, as far as I'm aware, are interchangeable. So I don't think that this part of the cover will be any lower, which is annoying because that's the part where it hit. That's the part where it's hitting. But I believe that this part here is actually quite a bit lower on the FG cover. Anyway, be interesting to see the difference with that on there, but definitely a much better looking cover, for sure. Anyway guys, that's about going to be it today. I've been told that these bushes should be here tomorrow, so we'll wait until tomorrow to get this diff in. Like I said, there's no rush for it, so no point in making that harder for ourselves. Now, that's probably going to be it for this episode. Sorry that it was a fairly not eventful episode. Obviously you got to see my haircut, so that's pretty cool. Next episode we'll try and get this diff in the car and see what else we can sort of focus on getting sorted as well. Plenty to frickin' do. Lots to do. So anyway, thanks anyway guys. Thanks for watching as always. Smash like, smash subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you, bye.